Town TV, what a jolly good show.
Town TV is brilliant. This is Town TV and it's kicking.
Well, welcome to this week's show on Town TV. This week we sent Dave Bullis along to see Tony Nash. Now, Tony supplied Dave with a vehicle called a quad, and we're going to go and have a look at Dave roaring around Thruxton Circuit, so stand back and enjoy the action.
What are you doing, David?
I'm getting ready actually to go quad bike racing, Steve. It's something that I got a phone call from Chrissy and Alan last week, and they said, "We got a nice little one for you to do." I said, "Oh yeah, what's that?" And they said, "Have you ever ridden a quad bike?" I said, "No, I've never ridden a quad bike in my life. I know what one looks like." And they said, "Well, you're going to go quad bike racing on Saturday." I said, "Oh, can I have the day off?" And they said, "No." So here I am, peeling myself into a pair of, well, I don't know, it's hard to explain. What do you reckon of these things, Steve? Definitely,
I don't know. Is this your bike here?
I think that's my bike there, yeah.
It's awfully,
small.
Can I say small? Yes, I think small is probably quite good. These are your boots, aren't they?
These are my boots. Pretty
very nice colour, aren't they?
Pretty in pink. Full of dirt.
Right size?
Right size. Full of dirt, though.
So who arranged all this for you, then?
Chrissy.
Oh, really? It's busy?
Yes.
Ah.
It's all my fault.
She doesn't like me very much, I don't think.
Wow. Yeah, well, look at the colours.
Look at them colours, I mean. I've got a few things to say to Julie and Clary, mate.
Anyway, I'm going to go look at the course while you...
All right, and I'll see you in a bit. It's like having a gravity, like a cup of gravity. Welcome to Thruxton. It was me coming down there on the back on this beast of a machine. We've come out to Thruxton to show you a bit of quad bike racing. It's frightening. It is frightening. I've been down there and it's worried me silly. But Tony, we come out to see Tony today. If you'd like to come in. Tony, tell me a bit about the bike.
Well, it's a 250 Yamaha Wasp quad. The actual Yamaha side of it was originally a trike, and then Wasp down in Salisbury, they converted it into a quad. So it's a half Japanese and half English quad motorcycle.
It's a nightmare to ride, isn't it?
It's good fun.
It is good fun.
Good fun.
I've enjoyed that out there, just sort of zipping backwards up that way. But when did it first start, Tony?
Quad racing in England actually started around about 4 or 5 years ago now. And in the last 2 years, or 2 seasons of quad racing, it's really taken off in a big way, with most of the quad meetings having around about 80 riders in attendance.
So the one we're at, like Thruxton, I mean, they've got the, what is it, the motocross track?
Yeah, the training track here today, which they use every Sunday throughout the year. But where we're actually entering you in a couple of weeks' time out at Alresford. That's where you'll have all the fun.
Thanks, guys. I got a phone call during the week. Fancy going quad bikes? I said, yeah, I'll go and have some of that. I now find I'm going into a race. Nice one. When you say race, how many? You say 25 people. What sort of what's the size of the course?
The course is around about 3/4 of a mile in length, and on the start line you have around about 25 riders at a time. And each person is graded into a group, either junior, senior, or expert.
How about infant?
We can arrange that.
I think I'll go in an infant's race. I don't know if I can go into a big proper race. No, it's a bit quick, isn't it? But we're going to go round another fling around with it over in the dirt.
Yeah, so you're going to go out on the big jumps
and go on the jumps
amongst all the muck.
Yeah. It's been nice knowing everybody from Town TV. It's been nice working for the company.
Oh, you've got pink boots on.
You see these incredibly pink boots. I mean, Julian Clary, he's got nothing on these things, has he? I mean, how much would it cost to set up something like this, Tony?
For a second-hand machine like the one you're on today, you're looking around about £800. And then for all the riding gear and the helmet, you're looking at probably another £150, and you're set up ready to go racing.
So it's not really a cheap sport?
It's not a cheap sport, but compared with some motorsport, it's reasonably priced.
So I'm going to let you take this one out, I think. I'm going to go... Seen the little one? Have you seen the little one behind? I think I'll take that one out. It's frightened the life out of me, this one has, I tell you. It is me in... It is me in here, Mum. I'm going to take this thing out for a ride. Right, start the bugger. Thanks, mate. We can't do that again. Yeah, well, anyway, it is me in here. I'm going to take this bugger out for a ride. If I can get it to start.
Go again?
Go again? I want to go that way, don't I?
Shall I push you back?
Yeah, can you push us back, Tone? I can't see a thing with these on. I can't see a thing. This is worse than wrestling. For those of you that have recently tuned in, about 3 months ago I did sumo wrestling. This is a nightmare. But I'll see you in a minute. Look at this bloody thing started.
Simply Control, and we have at the controls.
Me!
Looks a...
What a funny sport. You probably can't see very much of me in here. You probably can't hear very much of me in here. We're going to take the bike back over to Tony. He's going to give it a check and find out what's wrong with it and whether it's all right and whether I can still go
What do
out.
you mean, what's wrong with it? It's because he didn't look like he was going very fast.
Well, it's me. That's what's wrong with it. I'm not very good on it. But then we'll probably go over there. I don't know. But it's a bit hairy. I think the fact of going out and entering a race. I think. What do you think? I don't know. It's a bit...
Wow.
I don't think so. Yeah, I don't think so. Steve and I have the same opinion. I don't think we'll bother. I think we'll just have a ride round with it. That is not me. I didn't do that. I'm not going to do that either. I think you probably just see us like zip over the top.
Probably a bit more like you.
That's me. I'm in bum. Mud everywhere. There's a big truck coming down. I think if I don't move this out of the way, I'm going to get run over. So, Andy. Nice to meet you. subject to small.
Town TV. Town TV. Watch it now.
We at WindowWise supply and install a wide range of windows, doors and conservatories to suit every need and pocket. Expertly fitted by our own installers and covered by a 10-year insurance-backed guarantee.
Well, good morning. Here we are outside the Safeway store in Andover. Safeways, probably as you know, have applied to move their store and develop a rather large superstore on the outskirts of Charlton. And last week, Safeways were in the Royal Oak car park, and we went along to meet with Peter Sitch. He's their spokesman, and we asked Peter what the proposed development was. But on the other hand, there were some people in Charlton who don't want a superstore, so we had a chat with them as well. We're here with Peter Sitch, who's spokesman for Safeway. Peter, Charlton, why are you opening a Safeway in Charlton?
Well, we're not opening a Safeway in Charlton, Alan, and I'm sure the viewers realise that. What we're opening is a food store on the edge of Andover to take the pressure from our existing store, which hasn't performed quite so well financially and is not able to give a full Safeway offer since the Tesco opened.
So when was the first planning application put in?
It was put in towards the end of last year, and we're hoping to go to committee fairly soon.
And you just revised the planning application, haven't you?
Yeah, we've revised it slightly. We've moved the store, we've reduced the size of the store, and we've also increased the landscaping so that it's a lot better in visual impact terms for local residents.
I think a lot of Andover people will be interested as to how many people we're going to employ there, because obviously it's a great centre of employment for people.
Well, obviously we'll take all the people from our existing store and their jobs will be safe, and we'll employ a further about 180 people on top of that.
Does Safeway see the future for retail shopping out in the sticks, so to speak?
I think the future for retail shopping is a variety of different types of shopping opportunity. There are places in retailing for small shops like the newsagent and grocer One Stop that we're just next to, which also has a sub-post office in it, I noticed. And there's also a need for the car-borne big weekly shop, which is much appreciated by families where maybe two of the people are working in the family and they need to go out once a week and do a big shop, and that's generally car-borne. About 80% of the customers in the store that we're building will be car-borne shoppers.
And what sort of things can we look forward to seeing in the new store?
Well, the famous thing everybody talks about is kumquats. It's a sort of a product that didn't exist at all, I should think, 10 years ago. No, what we're looking at is an increased bakery range, very much increased delicatessen and counter-service delicatessen range compared with our existing store, a very much bigger wines, beers and spirits, and a very much bigger produce section. Safeway prides itself on its delicatessen and its fresh produce, and I think those are the important things and changes that people will see.
I see some of your stores have post offices and even petrol stations. How about this one?
Yeah, well, this one indeed is going to have a petrol filling station which will sell competitively priced petrol. I mean, obviously I can't forecast what the price will be at this moment in time, and that'll be managed completely by Safeway staff and will be an outpost of the main store. We haven't got plans for a post office in this store, but we do have plans for dry cleaners and a small news agents, which is primarily designed to satisfy customers' needs. We don't see people actually driving out there for their Sunday newspapers, for instance.
Right, we're here in Charlton with Judy Still, who's on the Charlton Parish Council, and Stephen Manson, who's on the Appraisal Committee.
That's right.
So, Judy first, what are your thoughts on this development?
Well, we're objecting to it on a number of grounds, but the most important one we think is traffic. People in Charlton have been worried about traffic for a long time, for a number of years, and we've been trying for a long time to get zebra crossing or traffic calming, and we can't get it. Safeway is saying that there won't be any traffic impact on the village, but we just don't believe that that's true. We're also getting conflicting stories about measures that might be put in to help Charlton if the traffic does increase. And quite honestly, we feel we've got the whole village behind us when we say we're opposed to this development.
But don't you think the Safeway's development is far enough out of the village not to have any effect on the road?
No, I don't think so, because I think what they haven't taken account of is people who will come in down Hatherton Road and down Foxcote Road. I think that Safeway will draw in people who haven't been coming through the village to get to their shopping venue, if you like. That maybe those people from the north would come in on the ring road and go into the centre of town or go to Tesco, whereas now the easiest way for them to come will be through the village.
Okay, thanks, Judy. Stephen, what are your thoughts on this?
Well, I, like Judy, don't particularly want extra traffic, but I'm concerned more from the planning permission process point of view. This particular development goes against local, borough, county and national guidelines on planning consent, and I think that if it is against all of those, that we've got a very good case for the development not proceeding. I'm also concerned with the environmental impact. The store is some 150 yards away from a nature reserve that we've just had redesignated, and they're also building a petrol station. Now, I don't know at the moment what methods they're taking to prevent spillage getting into the water course, but it's upstream of Andover, and anything that gets into the water course will obviously affect the River Anton and ultimately the River Test, which, as you know, is one of our premier trout fishing rivers. So I'm concerned from an environmental point of view as well as from a planning process point of view.
Well, I hope you're not going to be a blot on the landscape.
No, we're obviously going to build a very high quality store here. It'll be very much on a residential sort of scale in terms of height, and it'll be brick and slate roof on it. It'll look quite attractive.
Yeah, I've seen some of the plans and lots of tree planting going on. And
yeah, we'll plant an enormous number of trees. Safeway sponsors the Tree Council, and that's because we're planting over the whole programme something like 13,500 trees a year, which makes us a significant tree planter in our own right. But remember that there is a planning consent already granted on this site for offices, and our store will be much lower and take up much less space than the offices that would have gone on this site if the market conditions had been different.
You may remember a couple of weeks ago we went up to see Steve Humphries. He's a jeweller, a jewellery designer up in Union Street. And this week Steve Pyne went up to Birmingham to see him in his workshop and to actually watch him making and designing a ring. So it's over to you, Steve.
Hi, I'm standing outside the NEC here in Birmingham. We've come up here at the request of Steve Humphries, our local jeweller, to have a look at his workshop. And so we got here a bit early, so we thought we'd pop into the NEC and have a look at some of the jewellery being exhibited here at the Spring Fair. Absolutely enormous it is here. Steve and I are completely knackered. I don't know what we're going to do with Steve Humphries this afternoon. Crawl around Birmingham, I should think. I think we've walked about 25 miles already this morning. So we're going to show you a little bit of film of one or two of the bits and pieces we saw, like the, how much was this, Steve? £120,000 pearl necklace for starters. One or two other bits and pieces. And catch you later. Bye now.
So, we finally got here to the heart of Birmingham's Jewellery Quarter, here in Birmingham, to Steve Humphries' studio. We found Steve. He was reasonably happy, though we were about 15 hours late or something. Now, we've caught him just in time. I believe you're about to start doing a wedding ring.
That's right.
Wedding band. But Steve has kindly offered, in fact, to make a casting of my family ring. Now, I'm a little bit worried about this, but I'm going to pass it over to you, Steve. Leave it in your capable hands, and off you go.
Do you a quick demonstration of what we can do with bits of jewellery like this if you wanted a copy. Basically, this method of copying things is just we'll make up a vulcanised rubber mould of things. Basically buy your rubber in sheet form and then cut it into strips, and it's laid into aluminium moulds like this. It takes about 9 layers of rubber to fill one of these moulds up, and it's important, although my fingers are dirty at the moment, you've got to keep this as clean as possible, because obviously if you have impurities or something in the rubber, it can get onto the ring, and also the rubber delaminates if you don't get it right. So just keep pressing this down to make sure there are no air bubbles in the mould. Okay, this ring, basically we're just going to put the ring in the centre there, press it slightly down into the rubber there so it sticks.
My ring is in your hands now, Steve.
The rubber's tacky on 2 sides, so what happens is when we put this layer down, we're putting it down the reverse way round, so it's going to tack down onto there. As I push down, what I'm trying to do is push down into the centre of the ring there quite firmly, hoping that your ring's solid enough to take the pressure. Otherwise you're going to end up with a collapsed piece in the end. Basically what happens when this is vulcanised, what will happen is the heat and the pressure of the vulcanizer will push the rubber down into this. It goes slightly molten and forms a perfect mould around the ring. Alright, the mould held between 2 steel plates, because as the mould heats up it burns, and we don't want it to burn onto the bottom of the press. This is basically a vulcanizing press. Operates at around about 250 degrees centigrade, and what we do is pop it in there, and then it's wound down. It puts the rubber under pressure around the ring. Tighten it down to about finger pressure to start with, and allow it for about a minute just to sort of start cooking, and then it's tightened down for a final time, and then left for another further hour to hour and a half for the rubber to properly cure. And then it comes out.
We hope, all in one piece.
Fanny Craddock.
Okay, so we interrupted you along with on the. We'll leave that to baste nicely or whatever, and we interrupted you on the ring. What were you about to do with the?
Well, basically, what I hope to show is you start to finish the way we work through making a handmade ring. We're actually going to do it in silver rather than gold, and do it as we were doing a model. If someone came in and ordered a ring off, we normally make a silver model up first, just so that we can gauge out how much gold we're going to have to buy and what's the cost.
I mean, obviously, price with gold and silver, there's quite a
big difference, and the materials work in very much a similar way, so they're good to work with. You know, you can make an easy comparison about the way it's going to roll and come out in the end. Right. So that's why we do it in silver first.
Right. So what's the first step?
Okay, I mean, basically what we start off at the moment, what we're going to do is about a 7 or 8 mil wedding band. We start off with a piece of square 6 mil silver. And what we're going to do is we're going to put it through the rolling mill so that it comes out as a wide flat band. So I'll just show you basically what we do. Oops. Basically this is wound until we get to the right distance, and this is just rolled gently backwards and forwards.
Obviously avoiding your fingers as you do this.
I usually work on a longer piece than this, but this was actually quite a good demonstration for if we're doing a gold one. But yeah, I mean, it will give you a nasty nip if you roll your fingers through there.
That detail, but
yeah. Okay, what we'll do is roll it out. Okay.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah.
Okay. And basically, what comes out at the end is a piece of silver rolled. It has about 2.5 mil thickness section, and it's about just over 7 mils wide. And this is what we basically use to start making the ring with.
And that 2.5 mil will be the finished final thickness of the ring, will it, more or less?
It gets made slightly smaller than that. It goes down to about 2.2 because we lose it in some of the finishing. And
right, well, which we will see later, right?
Yeah, okay.
Okay. So, what's the next step then, Steve?
All right, after we've rolled the silver down to the desired thickness and width, what we're going to do now is we're going to anneal it, because obviously rolling it through the machine makes it very sort of work hardened, and we won't be able to bend it by hand if we don't anneal it. So what I'm going to do now is just anneal this, which basically means we're taking the silver up to a temperature where the molecular structure of the silver softens. Silver is actually alloyed with other metals, and it contains copper. And one way of telling if you're getting close to the melting point is you actually see the dark spots start coming to the surface. It's called fire staining, and on the silver you really can't avoid it. It's just, it's one of those things. It does come up, but it polishes out. What we do now is it's quenched in water, then dropped into acid just to clean off any oxide in there.
So you're not actually, your slow cooker hasn't got stew in there, it's actually got acid.
It just keeps it nice and warm. It's not a powerful acid in there. If it wasn't for the temperature, I'd put my hand in there for you. But it's more like caustic soda.
Right. What's that actually for? Why do you put it in?
It just takes off if there's any oxides. Like I said, the little black copper marks and stuff. It will just takes the oxide off those and
just
leaves
cleans
you
it
with.
off.
Yeah, it just cleans all the rubbish off it. Okay. Now what we have is a softer or slightly softer piece of silver here, which I'll show you how we bend this up.
And that's at the thickness that you've already got it to the thickness you require.
We've taken it down to the thickness we require. I mean, obviously, if you're making wedding bands, we can vary the thickness depending on what someone wants. Someone might want a slightly thinner band or even a thicker band, so this is just generally as a rule. Basically what we do, just going to bend this around a ring mandrel here. As we go. Not very high tech, but around it goes. And the last few inches, what we do is we tap down with a hammer, just to get the ends down. This at the moment is not going to look awfully like a ring, as you will see. Basically what we do is we curve the silver around now, and start it off. And what we do now is we'll take it over and cut it off to the length we require.
I see.
Basically, at the moment, there's a big overlap on this which we want to get rid of. Also, the ends on this, because it's gone through the rolling machine, the ends aren't clean. So what we're going to do is just saw pierce the ends of this off. It's just basically just a very fine saw. You can hear it going through because it's about to go through. You can hear it sounds different.
Right.
I hasten to add, we don't waste as much of this on gold when we're doing the gold ones. This is why we do the silver one first, because you can obviously gauge out how much how much gold we need once we've done the silver one.
And the value, how much value is
well, yeah, I mean, there's an equation for working out weight for weight, so we can weigh this up at the end, whereas we'll go along and work out how much gold it would take to make the same ring up.
I see.
So it's, it'll be very much cheaper. Again, on the other side, we're going to tidy the other side up.
So you've sawn off the edges with your new blade.
Yep, just finished that one off.
Right, and what are you going to do now?
Well, what I've got to do now is I've got to marry up the two cleaned up edges, which basically we're going to do with a flat pair of pliers, and it's very simple, just a question of bending the edges down. Because we cut the edges flat, what I've got to do is get a flat along the top of the ring, which after we soldered it up in a minute, we shall tap out with the mandrel. Basically, these two edges have got to be exactly closed up together, otherwise the solder won't flow between them and you'll end up with a big gap. Don't come close. Right.
And that's now ready to be soldered.
Well, we're going to solder that one up in a second, yeah.
Okay.
Right, what we've done, we've married up the two corners, which are actually over here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to flux the ring now, which basically, what we do is we put this on over here. It stops the silver oxidizing as we put the solder on. If we don't use it, what we have is we get a porosity in the solder, which means basically solder bubbles, and it's a bit of a honeycomb. So if we don't do that, that's what will happen. All right. What I'll do now. I'll get this up. Dip that in a bit of flux as well. And off we go. Again, this will go up to sort of a cherry red colour. What I'm doing is here, we come in on the inside of the ring. As it comes up to temperature, we just warm the end of the ring up and then touch it on, and off it goes. That's it. Basically,
and that's it?
Tax the gap, so that's it.
Oh, remarkable. Okay, so we've now got a ring of sorts.
We've now got a ring. As you can see again on this, what we've got is it's gone a black oxide on the outside of this. And again, throw it into some water to quench it, and then into the acid, and that'll clean it off.
Right.
Okay. Basically, the ring's loaded up into the lathe now. What we use is a file, which basically we're going to put the shape onto the top of the ring here. We're going to come in at a slight angle on here, and we're going to put a slight curvation on the top of the ring here. Basically, what we do is we go over the top, turn this over as we go.
Next shot. Okay, so we've seen you solder it together and lathe it down and basically tidy up. So the next. Well,
basically, what we've got here is like the finished product, and all we're going to do now is just put a high polish onto this.
Right.
As you can see, that's put like an initial polish on the outside of the ring. It's taken out all the fire stain marks that were on there before and tidy the ring up. What we're going to do now is going to polish the inside of the ring and then put a final polish onto the outside of the ring, which will really make it sparkle. The polish is actually melting on the inside of the ring here, which is why it gets fairly hot fairly quickly. And put a bit more polish on there and turn the ring around the other way. Just put some more rouge on there. And on it goes again. So that's what we have at the end of it, the final product, polished and cleaned up ring. It's actually probably the dirtiest part of the job, as you can see by my fingers, but certainly finishes off the ring and it puts a nice high shine onto on the ring at the end. And that's ready to go off to the assay office now and be hallmarked.
Right, is that an expensive process, the assay office?
The assay office, they have a basic charge which they charge whether it's one piece or or 100 pieces or whatever.
Right.
So there's a basic charge of about £15. So as a single piece, single silver ring, I wouldn't put this in on its own because they're going to charge me £15. But the actual unit price after that is fairly cheap, and it's around about 50p a ring to all the look. So it's not too expensive.
Thank you very, very much for showing us you making this.
It's a
Obviously, we're
pleasure.
going to be following you some more.
Yep.
Let you go and get your hands cleaned
Yeah,
up.
I'm just going to just clean up a bit.
And obviously, we'll be following the story about wedding rings further with regard to, I believe there is a show on in Andover.
That's right, there's a show later on in the month.
Right, so you'll be bringing down wedding rings.
Yep,
there.
hopefully then these will all have gone away.
Come back
been
in
all
gold.
marked up, and we'll have them made up in gold as well. So,
Great, so we'll be
yep.
able to look forward to filming those in Andover.
Yep, certainly.
Okay, great.
Okay.
Well, as you can see, no ring. I'm very, very worried about it. It's somewhere in Birmingham with Steve Humphries, and he better give it back to me or he's dead. Sorry, Steve. Okay, well, I'm a little bit worried about it, but we'll see next week whether or not I get it back in one piece, and hopefully I'll get a copy as well. If you remember a couple of weeks ago, we had SAD in here. Now, John, who's the rhythm guitarist with his SAD, has recently formed a new company called ATS, which are involved in a rather bizarre new sport. Now, this sport involves the shooting down of small model aeroplanes with 12-bore shotguns. Thank you, Alan. Take away the model aeroplane. Tom Brown's school days and all that. Anyway, a slightly bizarre sport. And you might think that the idea of grown men in deerstalkers shooting down model airplanes with 12-bore shotguns is a little bit SAD, but they're doing it and they're paying lots of money to do so. So let's see a little bit of film of this.
We haven't, no. We've got 2 or 3 actually booked. Yes.
Will, was that you?
I think it was.
Was it? What's it like shooting these things?
It's totally different experience to anything else, clays or birds.
Yeah.
They move in a totally different way.
Yeah.
And I think the thrill when you knock one down like that is I mean, it doesn't compare really with shooting a bird.
Right.
It's a totally different ball game.
Oh, wonderful, yeah. You're enjoying it. It's rather cold, but...
It's a little bit brisk. Unfortunately, John couldn't quite arrange to get rid of this wind.
No.
But,
that's great. It's the first time it's been done, is it?
well, we had a sort of practice session earlier on in the week, which went very well. Knocked a few out of the sky then. But
great attendance anyway. So.
It's well, I think it's a fun morning out, and I think the point is, I think this the first time this has been done in the country, and I think it is working and it will work.
Great.
So,
okay, you've got another go now anyway.
I think so.
Yeah. Okay.
We can get another one up.
Cheers.
Yeah,
thanks for talking to us. Cheers.
So, no UFOs down there in Kimpton Down, but for all you UFO show fans, Reg has got Colin Andrews down here in Andover for the next 4 weeks. Oh, thanks. There we go. Colin Andrews, a real buff as far as corn circles and UFOs and that sort of thing goes. We've got one of his videos here for sale in our centre, if you're interested. Chantry Studio, that is. Now, apart from that, I will reiterate what I said to you before. We would very, very much like all you Andover residents to come down here and see us here in the studio. If you've got anything to say, anything of interest, any gossip, we like gossip, come down and tell us about it. We are your channel. We are your local television channel. Call us or come and see us. Our telephone number is 0264 33 556. We want you on our television station. We look forward to seeing you or hearing from you. Bye now, and bye from him. Thanks, Al.